I know how the internet works, so I already know I'm going to make a lot of new friends with this video, but I'm recording this in late October 2025 on a day where French video game powerhouse Ubisoft, the topic of this video, trades in Paris at a market cap of 1.2 billion US dollars. Now, for comparison, Electronic Arts in the US was just bought out for 55 billion US dollars. The biggest video game company in Europe that we have is CD Projekt Red in Poland at $7 billion. And even Sweden's Embracer is 2 times bigger than Ubisoft at the moment at $2.5 billion. So what is going on? What's the deal with Ubisoft at the moment? But first, as always, a quick self-introduction. Hi everybody, this is Dr. Todo speaking. I am a game industry consultant primarily based in Singapore and Tokyo with around 15 years of professional experience in the business. You can follow me online under the links that I provide in the video description. And very important, this video and every video that I make is purely educational and not financial advice in any way. So what happened to Ubisoft and its stock over the last couple of years? So what you can see here on CNBC is a quick overview of Ubisoft's stock performance over the last 5 years. And you can see how it dropped 90% between the beginning of 2021, when the stock was trading at over 80 euros to just over 8 euros today. Right, so this is like an insane drop, especially for such an established, big game company with what just a while ago were 20,000 employees worldwide. I will not get into the reasons for why this all happened to Ubisoft over the last couple of years, as there's enough about that online already. But I did tweet this in 2022 about Ubisoft. Mediocre games, mediocre pipeline, botched blockchain initiative, botched esports business, nothing on mobile, several scandals, no new ideas. So that was kind of like a obviously mean and snarky tweet. And what I did not know back then was that a few days later, gamesindustry.biz, the well-known trade publication online about the game industry, took my tweet and actually confronted Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot with it. And I will put the link to this article in the description. But back then, Yves basically kind of countered with a set of sales numbers about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which was the newest Assassin's Creed back then, and Far Cry 6's long legs, etc., etc. To come straight to the point of this video, I personally think that almost everybody is underestimating Ubisoft's potential for a comeback today. And I believe that over time, the stakeholders in Ubisoft, the fans, the media, etc., have become too emotional about Ubisoft, and they are too negative about Ubisoft as a result of that today. And I do get that to some degree, right? For instance, I understand that many people left the company over time. The software pipeline right now is a bit of a question mark, which is all at the same time kind of understandable because they're in the middle of restructuring, right? And I also understand, the Guillemot family has a lot of influence still. Several of the recent games underperformed commercially, etc., etc. But I think there are some signs for the future of Ubisoft that are positive, and that are not only that, but that are also ignored or not seen by the various stakeholders, again, fans and media, etc., out there. One positive, the first positive that I want to mention, and I'm going to list up a few that I believe are relevant, is the involvement of Tencent. What you can see right here, where Tencent invested 1.25 billion US dollars in a new Ubisoft subsidiary earlier this year. And Tencent is a minority shareholder here. And I believe that, at least on paper, if you are in the situation of Ubisoft right now, there's probably not a big number of partners or investors that I can think of for Ubisoft. Right, so Tencent is the biggest game company in the world, and I believe that you could have chosen a lot worse partners than Tencent at this very moment. The second point that I'm trying to make is this very Ubisoft subsidiary that, again, Tencent is a minority shareholder in. It's called Vantage Studios, and what Tencent and Ubisoft have done here is they put Ubisoft's top IPs into this entity, namely Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six. Now, I get that the devil is in the details. It's all about actual execution. They brought people from the old Ubisoft to this new entity, and it cannot be a magic bullet, right? But I believe from a strategic move, breaking up the company like that was actually very, very clever by Ubisoft. The third point that I want to bring up is mobile. So mobile is a largely untapped business area for Ubisoft. It has been quite a battlefield for a lot of the AAA game companies that we have out there in the world for the last couple of years in the US and Japan and in other places. But I think that here again, there are a lot worse partners in the world for Ubisoft to work with on the mobile front than Tencent. So please recall that Tencent has been partnering up successfully in the past with the likes of Krafton for PUBG, for instance, or with Activision Blizzard when they brought Call of Duty onto mobile devices. And as a quick side note, Tencent is, of course, not only the world's biggest gaming company, but also the dominant player in China, where at least on paper, they could also help Ubisoft make larger inroads into that specific market in the future as an investor. Another point that I would like to make in this context is Ubisoft's IP power. So we live in a world right now in gaming where one major focus for studios is IP, IP, IP. And whether you like Ubisoft or you hate Ubisoft, nobody can deny that Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six are top IPs in the world of gaming. And it's not only this trifecta of IPs that Ubisoft is sitting on, it's also other brands that like Rayman, Prince of Persia, or Splinter Cell. And these are all valuable assets that are still part of the substance of the company, and which Ubisoft never really tried to sell off for a quick buck, for instance. And as a last point in this context, to conclude this part of the video, there's still also the possibility for further restructurings, not only breakups like in the case of Vantage Studios, that might happen to improve the financial situation of the company. So Ubisoft, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, was not too long ago at over 20,000 people, and they are now below 17,000 people. And I think a big problem for Ubisoft, the major one perhaps, in the past years was that the company was not able to bring that kind of like quality and quantity of the workforce onto the screens of users in the form of games. So what I'm trying to say is there was a mismatch between the size of the workforce and the quality, the quantity, and the cadence of the releases in the case of Ubisoft over the last couple of years. And I really hate to say it, but I anticipate, and I could be totally wrong about this, I anticipate though that Ubisoft might be tempted to go for further staff reductions in order to boost profits and productivity in the not too distant future. So in summary, and in other words, the skepticism around Ubisoft is well understood, but the current market cap is not reflecting the business and its potential at all to what I believe is an almost dramatic degree. The company has been working on a turnaround for quite some time now, I know that, and you are of course free to totally disagree with me on every single point that I've been making in this video, but I personally believe the substance is still there to succeed for Ubisoft. And with substance, I not only mean the IPs that I mentioned earlier, but also their employees, the back catalog, the studios that they have, the brand, etc., etc. And again, the market cap is only $1.2 billion. And yes, Ubisoft made mistakes in the past. Yes, Ubisoft is in a bad shape right now, but it's not $1.2 billion bad. This is my humble analysis. And that's it for now for the Ubisoft situation. Thank you very much for listening as always. And Please do not take this video as financial advice whatsoever. I cannot stress this enough. It's purely educational, what I've been saying here. And see you again soon.